Alright, here we are looking at measures of central tendency. So these are all measures of what's happening around the middle of a set of data. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about spread, so what's happening out on the outside of the data. So when you put the two together, you get a fairly good picture of what's happening between the two. So the measures of central tendency, there's three values. They're usually commonly referred to as average. So the three terms that we use to express average are mean, median, and mode. Okay. Most people think of average, they think of what is really mean. Okay. And the other two are, the three together give you a really good picture of what's happening. Yeah. So let's look at mean. So mean, here's your formula. I know everyone's favorite thing, the sigma notation. But basically, there's two means, but they're calculated the same. One is the population, so if you have the whole population, all the values, you add them together and divide by how many the values are. If you're doing a sample, it's the same formula, add up all the values and divide by how many they are. We usually just use two different notations. This is called mu, like mu, and this is x bar. Okay, so x bar represents the sample mean, mu represents the population mean, and then this is their corresponding sigma notation formulas. That just means add up all the values, divide by how many there are. Okay. Median is the middlemost data, so if you put all your data out in a row from lowest to highest, count how many there are, divide by 2, and find the middle value. If there's two values that are in the middle, then you take those and you add them together and divide by 2. Essentially, you find the mean of the middle two values. If there's an even number, if there's an odd number, the middle value is the middle value. Mode is the data that occurs most frequently. You can have no mode, which means everything's equally represented. You have one mode, where one thing is, or you can have several modes. Right. So mode, you can have no mode, one mode, or several modes. Anything is possible. So just be careful of watching out for those. Easiest way to find the mode is to do a bar graph or histogram, and just look for the tallest bar. Yeah. Outliers. So sometimes there's outliers or datum that are distant from the majority of the data set. They don't really represent what's happening with the data, so they're part of the data set, so you can't exclude them, but they're also pulling the three measures towards them. So you can think of it like a little black hole that's pulling your spaceship towards it. So sometimes you might want to have the outlier in the data set, and then take the outlier out of the data set and see what changes, and then make note of that in any kind of report that you're doing. You can't just take out the outlier and not say anything about it, so it's always good to do calculations with and without them. The other type of mean is a weighted mean. We talked a little bit about this with the rectangle project. So just remember, a weighted mean is a way of giving significance to each of the values of the data in your data set. So we take the weights times the actual value, add those up, and then divide by the sum of all the weights. Okay. Sometimes their data is given to you or provided to you in intervals, so you don't actually have the actual values, you just have intervals and how many values are inside that interval. In that case, then we just use the midpoint to do all our calculations. So if we're calculating mean or median, obviously if we're doing median, then the interval with the most points would be your mode. Your median would just, you kind of approximate where it would be and which interval it would be. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow we'll kind of look at how to use these things and a little bit more on how they work. Okay. Sometimes their data is given to you or provided to you in intervals, so you don't actually have the actual values, you just have intervals and how many values are inside that interval. In that case, then we just use the midpoint to do all our calculations. So if we're calculating mean or median, obviously if we're doing median, then the interval with the most points would be your mode. Your median would just, you kind of approximate where it would be and which interval it would be. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow we'll kind of look at how to use these things and a little bit more on how they work.